Hey Patreons, this is Eric Nelson with Nelson Gunsmithing. I got a special video just for my subscribers here. We're going to talk a bit about how to lubricate a revolver. A lot of people are a little intimidated by that. Revolvers are a little scary. They're kind of hard to get into. But with some very basic gunsmithing skills, you can lubricate their interior in a good way, and you can prolong their service life. So I've already gotten started on this guy. As you can see, I've pulled out the two side screws. Every revolver, every Smith & Wesson, Colt, clone you run into is going to basically have 2 or 3 screws here and then a 4th screw up front. Now these screws hold the side plate on, which you can see is that line right there. You can see the side plate. Some guns are so well machined that you can't even tell the side plate's there. What we're going to do is we're going to first remove the cylinder. I've already loosened these screws up a little bit, so this goes a little faster. One point I want to make here, important one, is that I'm using hollow ground screw bits. You've heard me talk about these in other videos. Hollow ground bits have parallel sides instead of a chisel. This is a chisel tip. This is what you see at home, most home toolkits. Basic chisel tip screwdriver. This tends to knurl or turn up the edges of screws because it doesn't fit them correctly. That's why you see older guns with weird S shapes on the screws. You see metal turned up. That does damage them and diminish the value of the gun. Back to this. So this front screw always retains your cylinder. So with that front screw removed, we can eject our cylinder. Okay. This particular model, we have a little plunger element here. This gives us a little more room to actually work on the cylinder. We can wipe it clean. We can run a bore brush through it or toss it even in some soup like an ultrasonic tank to clean it up. You always want to run a brush through here, clean it out, and then dry them thoroughly. Never leave oil in your cylinder. We go to lubricate it. A little bit on the plunger itself there. 1, 2, We're going to push up the extractor star. Put a little under the extractor star on the shaft there, and that'll spread itself around. And if you want, you can put a little bit here too, and just let that soak in, and that'll just kind of help with grime or dirt that might have accumulated. So let's just say, and we'll put a little bit on this little plunger element, and we'll set that aside. Now, what stops most people is getting these other screws off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a trick for loosening up the side plate. We take our rubber mallet, which I just had in my hand a moment ago, I swear to God. You want a rubber-headed mallet, rubber or plastic. Try not to shake your screen up too much there. You see how that's starting to work loose? And that's it. You just gentle wraps on the body of it until that comes loose. Now that may take a minute, so I'm going to pause this, and when we come back, I'll have that off. All right, as you can see, we got it loosened up a little bit. On this particular model, there's a notch on the top side that holds this thing in place. Now, what gets a lot of guys is they start getting a little excited, and they start trying to pry that off of there. What you want to use is something like this. This is an old toothbrush. And you just start kind of working it back and forth. There you go. That's it. That's all it takes. And now your side plate is off. Now, you guys know I'm a big fan of precision lubrication. Really important points with revolvers is you want oil where it pivots and grease where it slides. So a few points that come in really handy here. Let's put some on that pivot pin. If you get to the mood where you want to tear this thing apart, you can, but that could be a little excessive. What I like to do for cowboy shooting cowboy revolvers is I'll tear the whole thing down and I'll individually grease every piece. Problem is, it's kind of hard to do that while you've got the gun disassembled like this. So you can put down some Slip 2K. Your other option is a good penetrating oil like this, like G96, which I like G96 a lot. especially if it's really dirty and really dirty in there, hasn't been cleaned in a long time. G96 is a good option because it gets down in there, it gets behind the parts. You see? Plus, I just like how it smells, man. Sitting here huffing G96, guys. That's what you pay me to do. And that's it. So now we've lubricated the interior of the pistol. The G96 will do a very good job of getting most of that detritus to break up. If it's really fouled up inside, if it's really bad when you get in here, especially if there's rust or whatever, you may consider throwing in an ultrasonic bath. If you do that, I strongly recommend you put the plate back on first. Otherwise, all your little parts are going to fall out. Okay, and then reassembly. Just go in the reverse order. That shitty old Taurus. Okay. Trying to get where you can see it. There we go. And again, here you don't want to force it. If you start trying to jam that on there, you're going to grab it. It's going to hit the side of the frame. It's going to lock up. I just kind of rotate it and jimmy it until it locked into place. Then I'm going to go ahead and take our cylinder screw. And it has a little bit of Loctite on it still. If it does not have any Loctite on it, I recommend blue Loctite for this application. Especially if you've taken them out for the first time. Blue Loctite will prevent it from coming apart because losing the screws can be a real pain in the butt. Again, you saw how tight that frame is on there, or the side plate, so it's not the end of the world. But losing this screw in particular will cause you a lot of grief. So, a little blue Loctite on each of these. Red's too tight. I don't think purple's tight enough. Purple's are things like I like purple for optics, for like mounting RMRs and things like that. Because you can't put a lot of torque on these little guys, and you need them to hold you need them to help stabilize the frame. So the Loctite helps a lot. You'll probably want to use an actual gunsmithing bit, but I've gotten pretty good doing this in my hands. Here we go. And I'll go ahead and put the grips on here in a minute. But there you go, guys. That is all you need to do to lubricate and clean the interior of most any revolver you run into. The key here really is these hollow ground bits. The Wheeler ones are not expensive. My big 90-piece kit that gunsmiths use, I got it from Real Avid. That's 90 bucks. Wheeler also makes a large 120-piece kit that has specialized tools specifically for taking down revolvers. Highly recommend you have a couple of those goodie bits in there, and it's pretty comparably priced. They're good. They're both pretty good kits. The Wheeler's got more specialized bits, but the Real Avid one has, I think, better parts. Anyway, just for my Patreons there, if you have any questions, you guys can always hit me up on Facebook or via Discord or via the Patreon app. You know, you can send me a direct message. Please like and share if this was helpful. Recommend me to folks. And keep an eye out for more content. As always, be safe out there. Thanks for subscribing.